Hello, everybody, and welcome to the CT Sports Town Show. My name is Chris Saunders. I'm pleased to have on with me from Middletown, rather, from the baseball program. Danny Botti is with me. He's been with the program now for 3 years, and he's doing great work with the Blue Dragons, a part of the CCC. Danny, I appreciate you being able to come on.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
It's awesome to be able to have conversations with various coaches from no matter what sport it is. Obviously, with baseball, I've seen your work since you've been with Middletown, since you were hired, and even before when you have been and are coaching for the Legion team for Middletown. Before we get into that, I kind of want to look back a little bit to kind of where you started, right? I mean, talk to me about just the baseball aspect because, how did baseball kind of draw you in?
Well, I was always, I played it growing up. That was my number one sport. I love basketball too. I ended up playing some basketball at the end of my high school career, but baseball was always a thing for me. I went to Avery Point, didn't work out for me like it works out for a lot of guys. But I was the other half that it didn't work out for. So I just went up to UConn stores as a student, but the summer before that, I wanted to stay in the game because I knew I wasn't going to be playing anymore. So um, I went to my Legion coach, Tim DeQuilla, and I asked him to be a coach on the 19U team, Legion team, and he said absolutely not. And he put me on the 15U team, and I said okay, great. And I was assistant there. And about a couple weeks in, the 15U assistant ended up resigning. 15U head coach ended up resigning, and me and Scott Marks, who was my friend and same age as me, he was coaching with me. We got elevated to co-head coaches out of nowhere. So we're both 19 as co-head coaches, in charge of 15 kids now. Never coached before, so we kind of just got through into it, and we really enjoyed it. And Scott didn't end up coaching again. Scott's a pilot now, so shout out to him. But um, I loved it, so I kept going, and they needed post 75 needed a 17U coach for that fall, which was going to be my first fall up at stores. And they asked me if I wanted to do it, and I said, you know what, why not? So that first fall at stores, I was driving back and forth from UConn to Middletown 4 times a week to coach a 17U team. Um, and to do that, looking back, I must have really loved it. Obviously, I'm up at UConn having the time of my life with 30,000 people, and I'm coming back 4 nights a week to coach, 15 kids, 17U fall Legion baseball. So then, that just led to me coaching again that next summer. And then it was just year after year after year. And now this is my 7th year coaching now. And um, I've been really lucky to coach a lot of really talented kids. I
Mhm.
mean, post 95, you couldn't ask for a better program with the kind of kids that come through that program. So, I just got really lucky. Didn't ask for it, it just happened to me. They just, I had to step up, and it thankfully it worked out. If we went 0 and 20, maybe I would have got, fired or something, but it's worked out for me so far. So I'm very lucky.
Hearing your story about just kind of you with all the driving and such from Yukon stores to Middletown kind of reminds me of a guy who I know had his familiarity in the Berkshire League, right? Brian Ham, who originally was with Terryville. Obviously, he traveled back and forth because he was up in Amherst and come back down to Connecticut, did the whole thing back and forth forever. And now the fruits of that labor and kind of going through what you did early on and maybe kind of to a certain degree, maybe you will later on if you end up deciding to moving on to higher ranks. Now he's coaching at Yale, right? So
Mhm.
it's good it's good for him and such. So do you see the similarities? Because it really challenges you, man, as far as like, okay, do I really want to keep doing all this driving? And I'm sure you were tired for some of those days.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a lot. Especially when you got classes and exams and in UConn basketball games. It's a lot, but going through that, it really showed me that I really had a passion for it. I really wanted to, help the kids, put the kids in the best position to succeed. I really like to win with them. They made it a lot of fun for me, so it really helped that I had a really good group that was bought in, that believed in me. Because especially the parents and the kids, you know, they have such a small window to develop,
Mm.
and to trust me as a 19, 20, 21 year old with their kids who have dreams of playing college baseball, playing baseball for as long as I can, I definitely felt that pressure.
Mhm.
And there was a lot of anxiety those first few years. But, once I got comfortable, um, and I got confident in myself and that
Mhm.
imposter syndrome kind of leaves, um, between the passion and getting confident and winning, and seeing kids succeed and seeing kids take strides from one year to the next,
Mhm.
that really showed me that this is something that I want to continue to do.
I think, man, one of the key things, especially with you being such, and you still are a young guy, but I think as far as just the way that the game is evolving, right, in so many ways, and this by no means is to discredit if an older coach was to get hired, but I'm just thinking as far as with technology and obviously everything that goes into like Rabzoto, TrackMan, if you guys have that opportunity to use it. If you talk to an older coach, sometimes you'd ask them, be like, hey, did the ball rise or spin rate? And depending on what point they're on, if they're stuck in the old style of baseball, they may not even care about that or ask what that is. Or maybe they know, but they don't
Hmm.
care. But my point that I'm trying to make to you is with you being closer in age with kind of the hip technology and the new slogans, words, etc., that also had to benefit when you're trying to not translate, but trying to communicate that to the players.
Yeah, for sure. The guys who are pretty old school, they have reasons for it, and it's worked for years and years and years. And I know a lot of old school coaches who are still very successful, and they get guys to where they need to be. Um, I try to find a happy medium between the two. Like we like to use analytics and all that stuff. We have a ton of stats. We track velo. We track all this, all the stuff that is important in developing players. But I mean, it definitely helps that I stepped out of being a college player for 2 years right into coaching, just because it was such a smooth transition. Because I was a player just a month ago, and now I'm a coach, and I know how things are evolving in the baseball world.
Mhm.
um, so yeah, it definitely helped, being a player, being so young, straight out of that into coaching. Because if you take a couple of years off, it might wear off a little bit. You see Tony Romo come off the field, and he comes in the booth, and he's electric right away because he knows everything that's going on.
Yep.
And that was, that's kind of how I was to start. That's how I felt I was. I was saying to my friends, I remember saying to my friends, like, maybe I'm just like Romo, like I'm just good because I just got out of it, and now that's why I'm so tapped in. And that was a little bit of the imposter syndrome, thinking 21 years old, thinking like, oh, this is going to wear off. I'm not going to be good at this anymore. But
Mhm.
um, it definitely helped, and thankfully, I haven't lost. I don't think I've lost a touch yet. So um, I definitely agree that being young and connected to the game as a player, as recently as I was, definitely helped me, kick off my coaching career.
I think it benefits you too that you didn't get away from the coaching side. Like you said, if you got away for a couple years, maybe you don't want to. Maybe coaching would not have been where you are right now,
Hmm.
right? I mean, I think of it where I know I started this podcast right when COVID hit during the winter season, and obviously baseball was canceled, softball and all the spring sports were canceled. The championships were gone too. And I
Hmm.
know I played summer ball, but it was kind of sparingly. It was a men's league on Sundays. But even that, like I was like, you know what? It's kind of wonky with COVID and everything. Maybe I'll just take some time. And I haven't gone back. And it's one of those things where, like, if you're kind of in and out, you kind of end up making that decision, right? One way or another. But for
Hmm.
you to be able to stay in, right? And being able to not just go gung ho on this thing, but being able to, like, it seems like it's not just a passion of yours, but who knows where it could take you. I mean, however far it goes with you,
Hmm.
you starting out so young, there's not a lot of coaches who have that opportunity and some run from it. It doesn't sound like you did. You embraced it and you become a better coach because of it now in your, mid 20s.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. If I think about that, if maybe I tried to keep playing, maybe I just went to a different school, tried to keep playing, um, or just didn't want to coach at all, took a summer off, whatever. I have no idea where I'd be, because this is all I really think about. My life revolves around it,
Mhm.
which my girlfriend hates. But um, like, the kind of job that I decided to get, I made sure I got a job where I can coach baseball, like,
Mhm.
and, when you know, I'm just making sure that everything is going to allow me to do what I'm doing now, which is coaching baseball, no matter, what it takes,
Mhm.
no matter what kind of hours I have to work, extra days, like whatever, like this is what I want to do.
Mhm.
Um, and it's what I love. So I'm glad that I didn't take any time off because I honestly don't know where I'd be. Um, who knows? I have no idea, but I'm glad this is where I ended up.
I mean, have you realized too that not only because you coach young men, right? And they, and I don't want to, make your head any bigger, right? Or make it big if, I'm sure you're a very humble guy. But as far as the aspect of, you being a role model for them and being like, hey, take baseball as far as you can go. If you can play and do whatever, great for you. But
Mhm,
if you don't, because some players, and I know this from back when I played, where they wanted to keep playing even though they knew they were done, right? Even if they knew like there was no shot being able to get drafted, whatever. But they just wanted to keep the dream alive. And maybe they
mhm,
prevented a family, moving on in their careers, whatever it was, right? Because of that. And I
mhm,
guess what I'm trying to say to you is for you to be able to have like, hey, I did this at 18, 19. Look what I've done in 5 years or however many years if a young man's going to ask you like, hey, about your career. So what I'm trying to tell you is that you are a face for like, hey, if this does not work out, it's okay. There's other things to have. You don't need to sell your soul just on one thing because it's, there's other things out there. That's what I'm
mhm.
trying to say.
No, no, I definitely agree. Look, you know, I have friends who kept trying to play, Twilight or whatever the case is. I try to recruit them to coach with me, and they'd say, "No, I'm going to play Twilight this summer or something."
Mhm,
And my whole thought process, like, no offense to those guys or anything, but like, like I had my turn, and now I'm in the game, and now my role is to be the best coach I can be for these guys,
mhm,
and you know, my career is over. Like that's fine. Like the next step in my career is now to help these guys be the best players they can be the best kids they can be. Help you know grow up, mature.
mhm.
Um, so yeah, they'll like my coaching career could have got derailed if I tried to keep playing. I played in a Twilight game, and I was just kind of like, what am I doing? Like,
You're like, I'm done.
yeah, I had my shot. Like, it's okay. I had a good career. Let's go, play some non-zone games. So you know, I know there's definitely guys who love the game and they want to keep playing as long as possible.
Mhm,
Um, I love the game, but I don't. I still feel fulfilled coaching it. Just the same way as when I played it because um, I see the passion that my kids play with. The guys I coach love the game.
mhm,
And as long as they love the game and I'm the one coaching them, that makes me feel good because I know that they, don't hate themselves, that I'm putting them in a spot where they can come after school in the
mhm.
summer, whatever, and have a good time, enjoy playing the game baseball with their friends. And, that's what it's really all about. Even though we do want to get them to the next level, do want them to, play baseball for as long as they can at a competitive level.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, you still want to enjoy yourself and be with your friends. So,
I read an article yesterday, and you'll love this, and I'm sure you read it too, because it was about UConn, right? And it's about the assistant coach, Coach Murray, who is,
hmm
and I'm sure you read this. So if you did, that's awesome, because then you'll get what I'm saying. Basically, what he has done with UConn offensively has kind of changed the way that teams look at UConn on the offensive side, but also too, in the coming years, you're going to see copycats, right? Like for years, people try to copy McVay's offense, Shanahan's offense for the NFL, but you can't because you got to have the pieces and such. And also, Murray's done a great job with them. But the point is that as I was reading down the article, it mentioned how Murray would look at not so much the NBA level, but he would look at FIBA. He would look at other leagues, other countries as far as the game of basketball. So the point that I'm going to you is do you, and again, I know you're a busy guy, so you don't have time to watch 2, 3 o'clock in the morning games in Japan or Korea or whatever. But do you ever try to go outside? Obviously MLB is going to be on. I know opening days on Thursday, right? The Yankees play Houston at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. But the point is, do you ever try to go to different leagues? Do you ever try to watch from other other places really to try to gather information so you can squeeze as much out of the toothpaste from your coaching job?
Uh, I don't know if necessarily I'm watching like the Korean League or anything, but definitely watch college baseball. The different levels, of course.
Mhm.
I've got a bunch of guys playing at school, so I try to keep up with them much as possible. So it's cool to see the different play styles. From Division 3 to Division 2 to Division 1, even the JUCO level. With our guys down at Avery Point. But I watch as much baseball as anyone probably. I've got MLB TV. I'm watching, the Yankees at 7, and then we got the Dodgers at 10, or whatever the case is.
Mhm.
Watching baseball constantly, another thing my girlfriend can't stand. But I just love learning from. You can learn so much from just watching the game. You
Yeah.
know, um, and the best coaches are gonna you should be able to make a decision in the game that it's just second nature to you because you've seen it so many times. This situation, this is what we should do. You
Mhm.
know, it's almost like studying for a test, but you're constantly studying because you're always just watching. But it's not so much studying because you enjoy it so much. You're just taking it all in.
Mhm.
So to see the best players in the world at the MLB level
Mhm.
do what they do, the different styles. Obviously 1 through 9 in the lineup, you can see so many different styles, the way pitchers attack, because
Yeah.
we can copycat exactly what major league pitchers do. If we've got guys with similar pitches, this is
Mhm.
what we want to do. Like, I'll see Pitching Ninja with a GIF of a two seam,
Yep.
and that's easy. I send that tweet immediately to a guy that's got a nasty two seam. I say, this is what we want you to do. You
Mhm.
know, um, Alex Mock with his slider, that was disgusting at Kagachak. Um, the Tampa Bay Rays, their whole philosophy is they got every pitcher's got a pitch that's their best pitch, and they're just going to throw that every chance they get,
Yep.
almost. So we just go to Alex and we're like, your slider is one of the best pitches in the state.
Yep.
We're just going to throw this all the time. And he ended up being like 60% slider. And we see where that's got him. He was one of the best pitchers in the state in high school.
Mhm.
Um, did great at Avery Point. Now he's at UConn. So, um, watching baseball and seeing how teams attack, pitchers attack hitters, hitters attack pitchers, the way defenders play, everything, even from all the Division 1, 2, 3, and then especially Major League Baseball.
Mhm.
Taking it all in every day is definitely just subliminally, sets you up for success as a coach.
I think the other thing too that makes the great, not the Grays, but the Rays so, ahead of the times or just ahead of teams. I mean, obviously, they've been ahead of the Yankees now for multiple years and they've been able to
Hmm.
beat them up. And now, obviously, the rivalry is what it is. Is that you mentioned about the pitches for the guys, they also throw from different arm angles. You're not seeing a guy from the same slot every
Hmm.
single time, right? And it could be over the top, three quarters, sidearm, submarine, the whole nine, right? And
Hmm.
I think, when I think about, coaches just overall, not so much, old school, new school, whatever it is. If they can, I always say this during broadcast, the Bill Belichick line. I'm not a Patriots fan, I'm a Cowboys fan, but I like Belichick when he said, "Don't tell me what he can't do, tell me what he can do." So if you
Hmm.
got, because obviously the Donaldson approach of, if your coach tells you to hit line drives, you laugh at him. No, I don't agree with that because if
Hmm.
you got a kid who's 5'2", he's not hitting 70 home runs. I mean, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. But if he
Hmm.
puts the ball in play and has Altuve without maybe the buzzer or hearing trash cans, maybe he's got an opportunity to be able to do something. So the point I'm
Yeah.
trying to say is being able to maximize the talent of what you have and not trying to put a square peg in a hole that doesn't work because everyone says no, it's supposed to. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah. No, for sure. As a coach, I like to try to find one thing a kid's really good at. I'm a big pitcher guy. I was a pitcher.
Good
So
for you.
it's really easy with pitchers. You find a kid that's got one great pitch, and then you just ride it, right?
Yep.
Tiernan Powers has a great two seam. So, he was at Xavier, played post 95, and now he's at Eastern. We just threw the crap out of the two seam. Alex Mock with his slider, we just threw the crap out of the slider.
Yep.
Justin Almeida, my first year coaching at Middletown High, He was a kid who hadn't played any varsity, and he was a senior. And then his first bullpen, his slider was disgusting. And we're just like, yeah, we can work with this, you know. And
This
then
works.
we just went 80% slider, and he was a borderline all conference pitcher out of the bullpen for us on a team that made the quarterfinal. And he was closing state tournament games.
Mhm.
He got a save against Platt, the number 4 seed,
I
or
remember
something
that.
like that, round
Yeah.
one.
Yep.
So this is a kid that didn't play varsity baseball his first 3 years, and now because we kind of unlocked something with his slider, he's closing state tournament games.
Yep.
So that's just as a pitcher example, when they've got one great pitch, you can really ride it.
Yeah.
But you can really find one thing a player can do, whether that's defensively,
Yep.
offensively, maybe he's a great base runner, whatever the case is. You can find one thing he does great, and then try to build around that to make him a better player and help the team.
Well, it's like Rivera back in the day when they saw him throwing from the outfield, right? Just shagging balls and his ball was cutting. What happened? Now he Hall of Famer. I don't have to go any further with that. There was
Yeah.
a dude on Kansas City back in 2015. I think his name was Cologne Gore. I forgot his name, but he was the designated runner because the catcher for the Mets, whose name is escaping me, couldn't throw anybody out because the Mets struggled throwing people out, right?
Hmm.
And then you saw what happened. Or it was Travis Darno. So, and they struggled to throw people out. So, what did Kansas City do in the World Series in
Yeah. Terrence
2015?
score. Yeah.
Yeah, Terrence score. Thank you. What
Hmm.
they just kept running and running and running. The only person they couldn't get out was Daniel Murphy because Murphy was on a 8 game home run streak.
Yeah.
No, but
Hmm.
hey, man, it's great to be able to talk with you as always. Before I let you go, and this has been an awesome conversation as far as talking baseball. I could talk with you forever. Looking at this coming season with Middletown, the Blue Dragons, you were telling me that you're a young squad. You do return some
Hmm.
key pieces at the up the middle side of the field. And when I say
Hmm.
that for people who don't know, if you have a strong up the middle defense, catcher, some mound depth, second, short, and center, those are the key cogs for baseball. So you were telling me a little bit about that with your.
Hmm. Yeah. So we've got our catcher back. He's a senior, AJ Quinn. He's going to American International, Division 2. He's caught every inning at the high school since I've been here. So he was a sophomore my first year, junior last year. We're expecting a big year out of him. He's a great player, great kid. He's a captain. Luke Weisenberg is should be one of the best pitchers in the state. He was borderline all state last year. If he had a little better start to the season last year, he probably would have been. But down the stretch, he was as good as anybody. He's our shortstop, amazing shortstop, great defensively, and he's going to anchor our staff number one.
Mhm.
And he's going to Salve Regina to pitch. He's a really really good player.
Good program,
High
by the
view
way. They made it pretty
of
far, I think what? Didn't they make it far last year, right?
yeah, a little
No
bit, and
way.
they're on a good stretch right now. I'm pretty sure. I think they're
Yeah.
ranked pretty high, but yeah, he's high velo, high upper 80s, 4 pitches for strikes. He's a great player.
Mhm.
Um, and then we've got 4 total returning starters. So then we got Corey Turcott, who's going to play at St. Joe's up in Maine. Um, he's going to play first base in college, but he's going to play probably second, short, and third for us. He's going to pitch a little bit. And then our fourth returning starter, we got Frankie Randazzi. He's an outfielder. He's a junior. He's a
Mhm.
lefty. He can really swing it. He's got a good bat. Um, and then besides that, we got a lot of spots opening up. Probably have a couple sophomores starting for us, but you know, the early returns, I think we're going to be okay. I think we have some good arms. We've got AJ and Luke
Mhm.
up the middle holding it down for us. Um, and as long as we keep the culture that we've instilled these first 2 years, keep going the third year,
Mhm.
I think we should be in line to have another good season because we've got a great group of kids. Really
Mhm.
excited with the group that we've got, um, and hopefully we can turn it into another memorable year for the high school.
Growing pains, right? With the younger kids. Just
Hmm.
gotta live through them and hopefully they can, as my broadcast partner always says, obviously, a lot of them are not gonna be freshmen, right? But again, if you're, let's say, a sophomore, well, by the end of the season, you're not a sophomore anymore. You've learned and you've been able to figure
Hmm.
it out and such. So hopefully the kids will be able to do it. And obviously with you being at the helm, I'm sure they'll be just fine. But Danny, I really appreciate you coming on. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy you invited me to be on. It's been a blast.
Now wrap things up around the CT Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe. Remember, CT stands for Connecticut Talent. I'm returning. Find them all. Enjoy the show, everybody, and be well.